What's up, people? Hello, hello, hello. How you all doing today? What's up? Welcome to the bootcamp. Welcome, welcome. Is my sound coming through okay? Hello, bootcampers. What's up, people? Good evening. What up, what up? I see some new names in the chat. I see some familiar names in the chat. How you all doing? Ready for some bootcamp? Clear video and crystal clear audio. Nice, great. How you all doing? Welcome to the bootcamp. For the people that are new, today will be 1.5 hours of me taking you through a subject of choice, or they cycle, but today is modeling nonetheless. So I'll be going from a complete noob, never opened up Blender before, to kind of functional and probably could model something on your own, hopefully. And so it is for all skill levels. If you used Blender before, feel free to join along. We're all gonna be modeling something together today, and then hopefully at the end of the stream we can all share what we made with each other. You met me at some of the art courses, but I finally have time to show up to bootcamp as well. Nice, alright, okay. Maybe you can say hello next time so I know who you are. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, people, so some ground rules before I start getting into all the techie, nerdy, fun stuff. This is live, which means that I can answer your questions, and all questions are more than welcome. In fact, if you have a question, there's probably like 5 other people that have the same question in their head, so you're just doing everybody a favor by asking. Do not be scared, it is completely okay. If I lose anyone at any point, just let me know, and I'll gladly repeat myself and do stuff again. Because, you know, if you're completely new to this, there's definitely a couple other people that are in the same boat as you. New here? Okay, so I like to interact with the chat, so let's start things out. If you are completely new to the stream, you can put up your hand in the chat. So I'll show you all how to do that. So hand up in the chat if you're completely new. And maybe give me a blue smiley if you've been here before. So yes, I've been here before, you hit me with a blue smiley. Hand up in the chat if you're completely new. Let's see how y'all are doing. Okay, great, great, great. So we got a mix, that's completely fine. All the veterans, please do take care of the newbies. We're all a big little modeling family here. We'll take everybody through it, no worries. Can ask CJ, sir, about me. Okay. You've been here before, but still a little bit new. Okay, that's all good. So, hold up. Oh yeah, I never got to introduce myself. I'm Onua, by the way. And that whole bootcamp thing I was talking about before, I'm going to be hosting that, obviously. And I'm a student here at CADA, currently on my 4th semester at the end of it. So if you have questions about the school, you can also ask me. And I believe there's an open house the 22nd of this month. So if you're interested in the school, go check that out. Try to do this class today. Okay, so guys, I will get into Blender. But before I do that, there's a goal for today's stream. And the goal for today's stream is... I'll post a link in the chat, but we have this Discord server here. And at the end of each stream, we post and share the progress that we've made. And it's really nice and really fun. And I get to look at all the stuff you guys have done, and you get to look at each other's stuff. And so, if you're interested, please do join the Discord and post your stuff at the end of the stream. It's like one of my favorite things to look through all the stuff you guys made. This was from the last modeling stream. Lots of stuff, and then we textured it later on. So do partake, I do recommend that. Okay. Time for the meat. time for the meat of the stream. Okay, before I start, so here's one of those interactive stream moments. Put your hand up in the chat if you've been able to launch Blender and you got about the same screen as I do. So like a default Blender screen. Is the software working? Did you all get it up and running and all that? So I did. So I'm gonna put my hand up in the chat. Yes, okay, well, oops. Great, so we're ready to get into it. Okay, so we'll go a little bit slow in the beginning, and then I'll reveal the concept, and then we'll go a little bit faster, and then you guys are gonna look real good, and you're gonna get off the training wheels a little bit on your little training bike, and you guys are gonna do a little bit of stuff on your own as well, with me, of course. So, to begin with, super slow, to orbit around the viewport that you see in front of us. So the first window here is the viewport, which is our little sandbox. Okay, so everything we create inside Blender, usually we look at it through the viewport. Okay, and to orbit around it, you hold down middle mouse. And you see the bottom left of my screen, there's a little icon. And down here you can see the stuff that I'm pressing. So I can write my name out. Oh, Onua, and you'll see it down there. Alright, middle mouse to orbit, shift plus middle mouse to pan around. Okay, the very first steps inside Blender, how does it feel? A little bit scary maybe, that's okay. So you scroll on your mouse wheel to go in and out, or you can also hold down Control and then middle mouse to zoom in and out. Yeah, that's right, Ankit. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay, so some of the other windows that we have. So this window we can sort of fly around in and look at our little cube. It's very beautiful. What other stuff do we have? Out here we have what's called the outliner. So we can left click stuff in our viewport, but we can also left click stuff in our outliner, because this is basically just a large list, or I mean, I guess it depends on how many objects you have in your scene, but usually it'll be a list of everything inside your scene, and you can pick whatever you need from here. Let's say you have trouble finding something, it's a good time to use it. So if this thing, you know, it's called cube, we can search for cube 001, and then we can find it from here, and then we can go to it. Okay, so you can click frame selected up here in the view, then you click frame selected. So if we want to go to our camera instead, we can search for camera, click view, frame selected. If you ever get lost in your scene and you're like, I don't know where I am, you can click view and then frame all, or click the home button on your keyboard. Okay, we'll all do the same. Alright, and this is also the place where you can kind of put stuff in a hierarchy and organize and all that, if you like to do those things, which I do recommend. Okay, underneath that we have the properties menu, and this menu will change depending on what you have selected, so it's context sensitive. So if you want to change the settings on your lights or your camera, this is the menu to be in. We'll get to use that a little bit later. I'm just introducing it right now, so the UI doesn't look so scary, hopefully. And those are like the major parts of the UI right now. Okay, so let's get into something close to modeling. That's pretty much where we're gonna start. So let's say we have a cube in the middle of our scene, like we do right now. But what are we gonna use that for? We can't really do much with it, so we need to make some adjustments, right? So out here on the left side, you'll find your tools to make those adjustments. Okay. Most basic of all, you have the move tool at the very top. And by clicking and dragging the arrows, you can move your cube around. You can also drag the middle part to move it a little bit more freely. Is the music okay, or is it a little bit too loud? Okay. So you can also click G on your keyboard. That's a shortcut for that. Next one is rotate. You can click R to rotate, or use the little gizmos here. Okay, Ankit, maybe I'll look at it a little bit later in the stream. And then other than rotate, you have your scaling tool, so S to scale up and down. And then you can use G, S, R, and then you can sort of move your cube around and you can scale it. Okay, if you scale it on one axis, you can make it flat, and so on and so forth. So if you click Ctrl Z, you can go back to the very beginning. So I had to click it 29 times. You can click Ctrl Shift Z to go forward again. So what's the difference if you click R twice? I guess the R twice is kind of like a, I don't know, like a freeform type of rotation. I don't really exactly know how to explain that. I never use R twice though, so maybe it's not super useful. I'm not sure if people actually use that. Yeah, so R twice is kind of like free, where if you use the gizmo or use a regular R, you're kind of locked into these axes, which can be very useful. You can also hold down Ctrl Z, by the way. Also, you can use the hotkeys. It's very important to mention. If you are a hotkey fiend, which I do love my hotkeys, you can click stuff like G to grab / move, and you can click Z to move it on the Z axis, Y to move it on the Y axis, and then, you guessed it, X to move it on the X axis. Okay, so that's pretty much what we need to get started, which sounds kind of crazy, but you know, in reality, some of modeling is just blocks and cubes. So we'll start with this, and then we'll get into more of the modeling tools in a little bit, so we don't get bored to death by all the technical stuff. And now I'll present today's concept. Boop. So there it is. I think, by the way, people, today might be the last modeling stream that I do. Let's see what happens. But Oliver will be taking over the torch, and he will be continuing the streams. So for the last one, I thought, let's go a little bit crazy, right? And this might be too much, it might be crazy, but there's definitely a lot of stuff here that everybody can do, and I'll be using some very cool tools that I haven't brought out on the other streams, so I hope you guys will all enjoy it. It'll be sort of interesting. Yeah, you can also rotate like Ankit is saying. If you just click the different axes, you can also rotate on those. Okay, so I hope you guys will enjoy this concept. I think it's kind of cool. It's like a real life diorama, and we're gonna try to recreate it in 3D. So like usual, I will post it in the 3D Bootcamp chat. So it's a good reason to join it. Hold up. But I'll also have it open on screen as much as I can. Okay, there we go. So right in this chat is where I'll post it. You guys should go look at it, download it, put it up on your other monitor, whatever you need to do. Yeah, exactly. Same with the scale and move and all that. So you can use hotkeys like that if you want to. Hotkeys are not necessary for today at all though. You can also just use your mouse and all that. Okay, so with the tools that we have right now at our disposal, what can we do? So I'm thinking let's just try to make like a border in which we can place everything, right? So let's make this bottom kind of cube. So we can use our scale tool, scale this cube down, elongate it, scale it the other way. So I'm just kind of creating like a base where we can put everything on top of, okay? Something like that. Okay. And then hold up. Okay, let me, you know what? Okay, hold up. Let me put this cube aside for a second. So if you messed up your cube or whatever and you want to make a new one, you can click delete, okay? So I'm gonna start a little bit more basic. I think we should make this thing here first, okay? So to keep it a little bit more organized for you all. So if you want to add a new cube, you go to add menu, mesh, cube. And we have a bunch of different shapes that we can play with here, okay? So just with the tools that we've learned so far, we can actually make some stuff, okay? Just depending on what shape we start out with. There's donuts, there's spheres, there's everything in there. So I'll start with this kind of gazebo thing. So I'll add my cube back. You can also adjust the cube you already have. And I'll be making this like base for that one here. What's up, Clarissa? Hello. Okay. We'll see how much of this concept we can get done today, but we'll try our best. Okay. So I need to ask already, because I don't want to lose people this early on. Put your hand up in the chat if you're at this point where you can kind of add a cube, scale it, move it, navigate around the UI. You're not too scared to continue. So if anything happened, now's the time to tell me and I will help you all through it. So I got to this point, so I'll put my hand up. See if everybody is on board. I don't want to lose anyone. Okay, great. Okay. So let's try to make this staircase. I'm a little slow, but I understood. Okay, great. We are going slow in the beginning, just so people can follow along. So if we wanted to make this little staircase, right? I mean, this is all cubes, and we know cubes. Actually, we're experts in cubes now. So we can go add, mesh, and then cube. And then we can move this cube out. Oops. So what? Oh, I accidentally clicked this thing. Does scale matter? Yes, scale does matter. But I wouldn't worry about it for today's stream. It's not really important for what we're doing. So, you know, you'll end up in cases like this where you want this thing to be thinner or broader or whatever. You know, you can scale it on one axis and then the other axis to make it real thin. But you can also, if there's these handles in between, you can scale on those to make it thinner or thicker, whatever you need. Okay, we can kind of move that in place. And then we could add another cube here, but we can also duplicate the cube that's already there so we don't have to reshape it, okay? So you can click Shift D to duplicate. Okay. I might start out by doing something like this. Now this is not a fantastic way to model the staircase, but it is a way. And right now it's just about getting you all introduced to the tools that we have currently, getting you used to the UI and all that. So we can duplicate this one, move it out, lower it a little bit. We can scale it in, move it up. You can also try practicing the hotkeys if you feel like it. So with hotkeys it would look like this. Shift D, X to move it out, S to scale it on the Z axis, G to move it on the Z axis, SZ, GZ, you can kind of do that. Okay, simple enough. You can also, you don't have to use the hotkeys. Hotkeys can just sometimes make it a little bit more fun to use the software, to be honest, because it speeds up everything a little bit. How do you make sure they're aligned? I just make sure to move them on the axes for now. They're very good tools to align stuff in Blender, but for now I just make sure to just move them on the axes instead of just like moving them off. Okay. If you want to do like a little bit more of a free-form kind of G to move it around, you can go into the orthographic view. So if you click this up here, Y, you can move it around like this without moving it back and forth. You can also use this green arrow to move it. The hotkey is, hold up, yeah, numpad 1. Or you can just click up here. Okay, I'll give everybody like a little second to make their staircase. Yeah, no worries, you are so welcome. Okay, once you all have made your little staircase, I'll focus on this middle kind of cube. This is good because everything is cubes, so I will really become a master of the cube. That's a good point, Kim Patrick. How you doing, by the way? Nice to see you. So what Kim is saying, Patrick is saying is here. So if you accidentally move it, we have a little information panel right here about the item that we have selected. Okay, so you can see the position in our scene is recorded right here. So if we accidentally move it up here or something, we can always zero out our values. Okay, so we can also offset them here. So we can just put it to like 0 and then it will snap back to the middle. That's nice. Hope it's interesting work. Okay, so back to the main structure here. It's just a big cube. Okay, so we take a cube, we scale it up. We like cubes at this point. And maybe the proportions are off. So let's say we want to scale this one down a little bit. Okay. Now our whole staircase is off, so we could move these one by one. But instead we can also hold down the shift button and then left click all of them and then move them. So we can move multiple things at the same time. Why not using the bevel modifier on the stairs? Trust me, we will be getting into all the stuff. But for now we're just using very basic tools because there are people that have like never used Blender before, so we're just starting out slow. But if you do want to use the bevel modifier, you are more than welcome. I do love it when people sort of go do their own thing as well a little bit, because at the end of the stream we get like a lot of different versatile kind of, you know, scenes, and we get to look at all of them. So if you know the bevel modifier, use the bevel modifier. It will be great, I'm sure of it. Okay, so At this point, I will ask in the chat one more time just to make sure. How's it going? Are you all at this point where you can put down cubes and get them to the shape that you want them to be? Are you caught up with me? So I'm caught up with me. I'll put my hand up in the chat. Let me know how it's going. All good, Moeko. Okay, great. Is there a way to scale from one side only? There definitely is. So I'd say without getting into the modeling tools, because there's ways to do it precisely, but let's say you wanted to scale like from that side and then down here, okay? If you hold down Shift and then click on the right mouse button, you can move what's called the 3D cursor. I believe you can also just select the tool up here, the cursor tool, and then click on a side. And then right here, there's the transform pivot point, and you can set that to use the 3D cursor. Okay, so when you go to your gizmo, it'll be placed where you put the cursor. So Shift right click, and then when you scale it, you can scale it from that side. And then if you want to go back, you just click it to medium point. Can't say much, unfortunately. Yeah, no spoilers on that one. Alright, so let's go ahead and start working on the railings a little bit. So honestly, it's still cubes, just a little bit more cubes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this one side here, and then I'll show you all how to mirror it and put it to the other side as well, so we don't have to do double work, because obviously it's the same thing on both sides. So we'll go ahead, oops, let's add mesh, add a cube. The hotkey for the add menu is Shift A, by the way. Okay, so let's figure out where this platform is gonna be. Actually, hold up, I found, so a little trick we can do is, when we want stuff to go fast, we can just duplicate this, click escape to let go of it, and now we have a cube in the same place, okay? So we can just scale it up to make this little walkway here. So S to scale it up, and then we want to flatten it down. Okay, so that'll be a nice little walkway. Lower it a little bit. Okay. And duplicate this. We can scale it. So we could use the whole moving the pivot here to make this easier. So if you're a little bit adventurous, you can try that. I'll just keep it simple for now. Okay. So we're gonna make a pillar here. Now we can click Shift D to duplicate this out. There we go. We can also, if you want to be really cool, nah, wait, let's not do that. So I just want to make it a little bit thinner, but there we go. I'll just Shift D it all out again. You can also click Shift D and then click X, and then you'll move it on the X axis like that. Moving the pivot, so let's say, you know, I had the cube up here, you could move it like that and then scale it up and down like this. It would make it easy, but no need for now. Okay, and we can work on this railing here. Whoop, there we go. So it's just a lot of cubes just placed in the right spots. If you ever get this kind of artifacting, it's because you have two surfaces that are exactly on top of each other and Blender can't figure out which one to show you. So the way to fix that is just to move one a little bit or scale one a little bit. And in fact, there is like, it is inset a little bit here. Okay, great. You can also scale multiple things at the same time by shift clicking and then hitting the scale. Alright, let's put the little beans in between here. So they look a little bit smaller. Go right here. Boop. There we are. So we kind of made one side here. If you want to see your thing with light on it, you can kind of do that. So if you press the little ball up here, you get a view with light on it, and you can move your light around. Okay. You can click this left ball to go back to the modeling kind of view. Alright, so let's figure out what these top things are here. So it looks like some cubes with a little sphere on top of it. So let's try to do that. It's a little bit pixelated, so it's kind of hard to see. Made me realize that I might have made my pillars a little bit too wide. Okay, maybe something like that. And now what we can do, also you can use this little pivot point to this is basically when you add a new mesh, your mesh will appear at that pivot, so it's also useful for that. If you hit Shift S, this is a little bit more advanced, but you can say cursor to selected. So now you'll move your pivot to exactly the thing you have to select. Or this, yeah, the thing you have selected, you can move the pivot to it, okay? So if I go add mesh now and I add a UV sphere, it'll spawn exactly on top of the mesh that I already have selected. Okay, let's just move this up. So that's pretty good. If you see a mesh that has this kind of jagged look on it, it's just basically because of how meshes are. It's all made out of flat surfaces. You can smooth that out by clicking right click and then shade smooth. Now we have that. We can shift select all of those three and then we can just move them over. Alright, kind of like that. Okay, I think that's fine. Select multiple objects, so if you want to scale all of these down and you try, well, they will scale as if they were one collected unit, right? So what you gotta do is you gotta go to the pivot point transform again, and then you can say individual origins. So now it will scale as on each individual part in your selection. So let's say you want to make all of these thinner, you can just do that. Okay, how are we all doing? How's the progress so far? I'll give it like a second, and then I'll move on to how we actually mirror this to the other side, which is cool. Okay, people, so if you've gotten to the point where your railing is somewhat done like this, put your hand up in the chat. If you still need some time, also you can just tell me. It's more than fine. A little fast, okay, I'll slow down a little bit. If there's something that's like complicated or hard, just let me know and I'll go over stuff again. Need a bit of time, that's more than okay. It's completely fine. Alright people, I'll just run and grab a glass of water. I'll be 30 seconds, so don't go anywhere. Alright, there we are. Yeah, the shortcuts, they do take a little bit of getting used to. You can also do the stream without the shortcuts, to be fair, like, both are okay. Okay. I'm looking for the thing you tagged me in, Ankit. Okay, I'll just do some other stuff while I wait a little bit, so maybe I can work on the staircase right here. It's kind of making me realize that it's probably fine. Oop. You know, if you have like 3 stairs done, you can also just shift click those and then shift D to duplicate those. Kind of helps. Speed things up a little bit. What's up? Physurius, how you doing? I can definitely use an array. There are many ways of doing those stairs, but for now we're just using Very basic tools. Okay, I hope people are somewhat following along. So let's try to mirror this, okay? It doesn't mean that you can't keep working on it or something like that. So I'll show you what a mirror, or how to apply a mirror, and then we'll apply it to all of it. So if you go to this properties panel that I talked about, it is context sensitive, so this one will change for every object that you have selected, okay? So if we go to this little wrench icon here, it's called modifiers. We can click add modifier, and then we can search for mirror. Okay, so what it's gonna do is, it's gonna take that object and then mirror it across something. Okay, so right now, since we don't have anything selected to mirror it across, it's just mirroring it across itself, and we don't want that. So what we can do is, we can select this little pivot here, and then select whatever object we want it to be mirrored across of, okay? So if we select the cube, it's not gonna work because it is on the wrong axis. So depending on how you oriented your scene, you can select the right axis. So Y is the right axis for me. So you can see the green arrow is the Y axis. So we have to mirror it on the Y axis. And now we have a railing over here that's identical. So we could go ahead and add the mirror modifier to every single part. But just to save some time, what we can do is we can join these parts together. So if we shift select some parts and then shift select the part that has the mirror modifier last, we can click Ctrl J to join them together. So now the railing is joined together. We can just go ahead and shift select a bunch of other things and then join them together, and you guys see the railing is appearing on the other side, which is great. Boop. Now there might be a problem with the sphere, let's see. No, that's fine. There we go, and now we have a whole railing on the other side too. So this is super useful. You can also duplicate this. So if we wanted it to put it in the back, like we can think about the best sort of progression for this so it doesn't get confusing. Actually, never mind. Let's just go ahead and work on this main building a little bit and we'll get back to that. So if you're really smart, you would have probably saved like one of these pillars here, because we could have used it down here. It could be, so if you don't see your mirror working, you gotta select the object that you mirror it across of. So in this case, I wanna mirror it on the other side of this cube here. And then you also gotta make sure that you're mirroring on the right axis. So in this case, it's the Y axis we wanna mirror on. How are people? Did everybody get the mirror modifier to work? Let me know if you got it to work, if it's okay or not. No? Yes, of course I can. It's working now, thanks. It does not seem to work. Okay, I'll go back. I'll go back, people. Don't worry, don't worry. Oh, I hit the max, Control Z. It's fine. It's the default. Okay. Alright, to start off with, it might be nice to just like take one of these pillars here and like duplicate it out. Okay, just so we have a pillar for the other like parts as well. Okay. So to start off with, the mirror modifier is in here in the properties tab. If you go to modifiers, the little cogwheel, you search for mirror. And then, what's happening here today? Oh. Alright. So once you have the mirror modifier on, you gotta select the object to mirror across of. So if I select the cube here, it will technically mirror. It's just doing it on the wrong axis, okay? It's doing it on the x-axis. We don't want that. We want it on the y-axis. So we gotta switch that around. We just click y-axis. So just remember, click the little pipette, select the cube, and then select y-axis or x-axis. It depends on how you rotate your scene. Yes, you can change them all with Control Z preferences. So once you see like one cube over here, you can just take whatever you want and then add that to the cube. You can join the pieces together. So I'm selecting my cube with the mirror modifier last and then clicking Control J to join all those parts together. It worked, great. Did it work for everybody? No. Alright, Eamon, what is happening when you try to use the mirror modifier? Can you describe what seems to be the problem, you think? Or is nothing happening at all or something like that? Is there an option to snap the new in the middle of new cubes in the middle of an already, so I don't have to manually, yeah, okay, so it either makes it really wide or nothing happens. Alright, we'll get back to that. So okay, as how to spawn a new cube on top of something that's already been made. So let's say we want to spawn something on inside of this cube here. You click Shift S and then cursor to selected. So that's this little pivot point here. And then once you add a new cube, it'll be added right on top of it. You can also turn on the snapping here. So you can snap it to median. That's not really gonna work, I think. Regardless, that's kind of how you do it. You just move the pivot. If you want to move something to that point, say I want to move this cube to that cube, you click Shift S and then selected to cursor. So before it was cursor to selected, now it's selection to cursor. Okay, that's kind of how you do that. Okay, I'm a little bit worried about why the mirror is not working, but we'll figure it out. Could be mesh origin, yes. So what you all could do if the... So let's... Alright, so if your mirror is not working, you could start out by selecting your main cube here that you want to mirror to. just click F3 and then search for geometry. So, and then go origin to geometry. So that basically puts the middle point of your mesh to the middle of the, or the middle point of your object to the middle of the mesh. So basically just puts your origin point in the right place, and now your mirror should definitely work. If that doesn't work, you can try the same thing on the cube here as well. Origin to geometry, and now try the mirror. Same process. Hopefully that should work. Why is the mirror modifier gone when I hit Ctrl J? It is probably because, so let's say, everything here has the mirror modifier, so all of this, except this little thing at the bottom. If I join these in the wrong order, so if I join this piece right here to the piece that does not have the mirror modifier, the last piece selected will kind of take over, and then none of it is going to have the mirror modifier. But if I join this piece to the piece that has the modifier, then that is also going to be included in the modifier. So you got to join them in the right order for that to work. If the mirror modifier stuff is really not working, you can also, as a last resort, just join everything together, click Shift D, duplicate it, move it over to the other side. That's also a way to do it. Both are perfectly valid for our use case. It's exactly slirart. Duka. In fact, let's do that for the back. So we can duplicate this thing here. It's still gonna have the mirror modifier, which we don't want. So on this duplicated thing here, we're just gonna click delete, rotate it by 90 degrees, and then I'm just gonna eyeball it because yeah, it's fine. Okay, it's gonna be two of them stacked on top of each other. Definitely not ideal. Might come back to that, but for now let's just move on so we can get to do some more stuff on the stream, so we don't get too far behind. Not everything has to be perfect for the stream. It's gonna look fine when the light hits it, like it's not too bad. Thing is, we're just making a little scene to be rendered. We don't need to be too clean about it right now. It's completely fine. So let's work a little bit on this main house here. How's it go? Okay, how many people got the mirror modifier working? Was it a total disaster? Like, it's working for me, so I'll put my hand up. Let me know if it's still not working for people, or if you're like, if stuff's a disaster on your end. I will help, don't worry. Okay, just figured it out. Great. So I'll move on to these pillars here, and these are gonna look real nice once we add color to them and all that. Okay, we can flatten this out here. Kind of make this little window structure. Oops. So Shift D and then click RY90 to rotate it by 90 degrees. You can also, you can hold down Control with the gizmo to kind of snap it. You can also write in 90 up here and you'll rotate it 9 degrees, all the same. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going here. Let's try something a little bit more interesting. Looking for like a good place to start with this. So let's just make the gate. Maybe we're not gonna make this whole scene, but we can make a little simple one where we just have the gate and then the temple. It seems to be about what we can manage for today. Okay, so I'm jumping a little bit. I just don't want it to be too boring, and I would be sad if we couldn't get to do some actual like modeling today. So if we start out by making the gate here, we'll just make it off to the side maybe. I'll put this thing in the center just to start out with. So I'll make what I think is sort of the appropriate size for a pillar. I'll move it over. And then I'll just rotate it here on the x-axis. I'll add another cube, and if your mirror wasn't working, now is a good time to test again why that could be, because we're going to be using the mirror again here. So if I make, and I need to make sure that it is centered here, this cross beam, because we're going to be using that to mirror across off. So if I make a little cross beam here, now we can select the one beam we made, add modifier, mirror, and then we can select the cross beam here that's in the center, and then again we can mirror on the y-axis, and then you'll get the beam on the other side. And now we can actually rotate this, scale it, move it around, whatever we need to, and then it will update on the other side too. If we want to make this feet down here, we can just duplicate this here, and we might try to move it down like this and try to scale it right. But we can also, instead of using the global transforms here, we can use the local ones. And now it's kind of gonna move on the same axis that the cube is rotated with already. So we can also scale it like that. It's just gonna make it a lot easier to work with. Okay, move this up here. Now we kind of got somewhat what we see. Okay, so now for the top part here, and this is actually why I wanted to start on the gate, because I wanted to show you guys, like, sure, we're experts of cubes right now, which is fair and fine, but you know, what happens if you come across something that's literally not a cube, which will be quite often, right? So this top part here is very obviously not a cube, and we don't really have another kind of shape that describes that. So we gotta make our own shape. And that's basically what most of modeling is about. So to do that, we gotta go into edit mode. So right now we are in the object mode, which is where we select all our different objects. We can select our cubes, we can select our light and all that. But if we go into the edit mode up here, we can edit our objects, and we will be met with this kind of UI where if we try to select other objects, we can't because we're currently editing this one. So on our mesh here, we have a couple different options. We can choose to select the points, So the corners, you can see our box is made up of corners or edges. Here we can move those around, or we can move the faces around. And so we could try to move this out here, and then this out here. And then we kind of have something that has like a tapered look, but it's not really that shape, right? And no matter how we try to pull and push these points, we're never gonna get that shape, because we simply don't have enough corners or edges to get that. So we have to add some more edges. And this is what these tools out here are for. There's a bunch of different ones. The one we're going to be using right now is the one called loop cut. So what it does is it cuts an edge all the way around our mesh. So now we can select that edge and move it up. So now we can get a little bit closer, but obviously it's not quite there yet. So we gotta put in some more loop cuts. If we left click it and hold it down, we can move it. So if we move one over here and one over here, you might see that we can get a little bit closer. In fact, we can move this whole face up and face up on that side. And we're actually getting kind of close now. So we can also be smart with these tools, right? Actually, let's be simple with them for now. So let's say we like this for now. We can also select all of it here by clicking A, Alt A to deselect, and then we can scale all of it inside the edit mode too. We can shift select both sides and then move them up. Let's say we wanted a little bit more fidelity right around here. Well, we can simply just add a loop cut on either side. Well, we can add it, and this will make it simpler. Once you add it, it'll be selected. You can just left click out of that, and then you can move it down a little bit. Do the same thing here, left click, move out of that. And then you get a little nice shape here. If you want to adjust a loop all the way around here, could go in, you could select, shift select all of them, and then move it up or down. You can also hold down Alt and click one of the edges, and then it will select all the way around for you. It's kind of the way to do that. If we want to make it look real nice, we can bevel edges too. So I'm not going to do that for this one. I just want to show you all how that works. You can put a bevel here. And you can, if you click tab, you can go quickly in and out of edit mode. If you want to smooth this out, you can also bevel these edges. If you scroll on your scroll wheel, you get more fidelity. So you can kind of smooth that out if you feel like it. You can smooth both of these out at the same time. So there's lots of options here. Now we can simply duplicate this up here, scale a little bit flat, scale it out a little bit more this way, and now the shape doesn't fit. So I just use the tool out here, it's called bevel, and you can just bevel edges with that one, or you can also click Ctrl B. If you want to select the whole line here, you can hold down Control. So select one edge, hold Control, and then it will select a path to it. Then you can bevel like that. Okay. So by clicking Alt here, I'm gonna select the edge loops, and I'm just gonna try to match it as best as I can. If you hold down Shift and then Alt and click, you can select multiple edge loops. Then you can move those down. what if you want to bevel a side that's connected to another side that is already using bevel? So I would say for now it's best to just bevel all of them at the same time, but because the problem is we're using what's called a destructive workflow, where when you bevel it, you can't kind of, it's not easy to just add a bevel that connects to it, right? But there are in here with the modifier tab, there's what's called a bevel modifier too, okay, and that's the one that's a little bit nicer to use. You can add segments here, so it's kind of fidelity. Hold up. And it's a time where scale matters for what you're doing, because when you bevel here, the scale will be a little bit wonky because we added the scale. We added scale to our mesh, so it's trying to basically add the bevel here and then it scales it up afterwards, so you get this like weird deformed bevel. So what you can do is you can click Control A and then apply all transforms, and then you'll get cleaner bevels. Okay, so you can use this modifier, but also with the modifier you can pick weight. So this is a little bit more complicated, but with the weight what you do is you increase the bevel weight on your edge inside the item here, and now the edges that has a bevel weight of 1 will get the full bevel here, and then you can sort of connect edges to that as you wish, or take edges away from that. So it's a little bit of a smarter workflow. Well, I'm just gonna keep it simple today. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so now we have a gate. Let's say we're happy with that. We can sort of return a little bit to this. So I'm gonna attempt to make the roof now, just so we have it on there. So I'll just start with a plane. So of course this roof is a little bit more of a complex shape, so it's a little bit difficult to get that with just 4 corners. That is not gonna happen. So we need to add some more edges again. So we can go into edit mode on this plane here. Oh, actually I should pause for a second. Are people doing okay with the story gate? Like, did you guys manage to kind of edit your mesh a little bit and all that? I did, so I'm gonna put my hand up in the chat. Let me know how it went. If something was very difficult, I'll happily go over it. Okay, great. Great. And is the whole difference between object mode and edit mode and all that making sense? Okay, so let's sort of edit this plane to make it the right shape for the roof. And this is the time where you get creative. I've done this for a while, so I think I know what the best solution is. So I'm gonna click I to inset, or you can use the tool out here. It's called inset. Okay. So it's probably a little bit harder to use than just clicking I on your keyboard, in my opinion. So we can move this in. So now we have a face here and then some faces around it. And then we can actually add a loop cut, and it will go around here because we kind of have a border. And this is a talk about topology, which might be a little bit too advanced for today's stream, but it's essentially, it's just the fact that even though we are on a flat plane, you guys can see that this is actually an edge that goes around. So when we add a loop cut, it will actually go around like this, okay? So I'm gonna take this and scale it in. And then if I move this up, we get a pyramid shape. You can click Ctrl R to add a loop cut or use the hotkeys out here. You can add it here and you can scale it down. And then you can kind of see how we're getting that shape a little bit. You can bevel it if you want to get a little bit of a nicer look. Now obviously these side points are lifted. You see there's kind of like a curve on here. Well, we can't really do that because if we lift it on both sides, well, the whole edge is gonna come up. So what we need to do is we need to add more loop cuts. So we can add one in the middle. And now if we move the points up, you guys see that this part stays down, the middle stays down. Okay, so we can add a loop cut here and here. Great. And now I'm just gonna click Alt to select this loop, Control B to bevel it, or maybe I'll wait with that. Hold up, we gotta do stuff in the right order for simplicity's sake. We can Shift select all the corners and move them up to kind of get that shape. And now let's see if we bevel it. We get this. So it's getting close here. Now we can also select these two here and bevel those. Ooh, that's not gonna be a good way to do that. What's a better solution? I'm actually surprised it is behaving like that. Makes sense? Okay. Well, we can just add some more loop cuts then. Let's go with that. So I'll Control Z to before. So sometimes modeling is a little bit of a trial and error. We figure out better ways of doing stuff. So I'm just clicking. This might be easier with the loop cut tool. You can just click, click, click. Oh, does that actually work? So let's try. So there it is. Okay, that was exactly what I was looking for. Thank you very much, Silverbud. All right, so back to what we were doing. We were doing it in a decent way. So we beveled this to get that smooth flow, and now we can bevel these. But like Silverbud was saying, we gotta change it here to %. Okay, so I think by default it is what, offset. Once you bevel something, you can go here and change. Right here you'll get a little menu and you can change the settings here. We'll change it to %. Then we can bevel it like that. And then we got a kind of cool roof here. We can click right click and shade auto smooth. We'll kind of get rid of those faces here. Okay. We can scale it up a little bit in object mode. Alrighty. So that roof was just about doing stuff in the right order, but just kind of shows you the bevel modifier can be used for a lot of things. There are other ways to make that roof as well, but this was just kind of like a easy one. maybe we should add a thing to the top here. So just like we've been using the pivot before, we can also, oh, this is not even. Okay, whatever. We can like select an edge loop here and then say cursor to selected, and then we can add something here. So maybe we can add a sphere to the top or something. Shade smooth, add a cube. Something like that. If your bevel is not dividing equally, it is probably because after you apply your bevel, actually apply a bevel. So if you apply a bevel, there's this width type here. You can set it to percent, and then you can change the percent type. By default, it is on offset, and it kind of does that. Change it to percent. We'll bevel like that instead. Okay, let's get the door in and do the rest of the stairs. So I'm glad I copied this one from before, so I have it now. Can just duplicate it over. It's fine, I'm not being too picky about where it goes. Can just use this cube here. Get the railing done. It's kind of like back to the basics, the cubes. We know how to control those now. So if you know your hotkeys, you can kind of do stuff like that really fast. And then, so I'll be rushing a little bit here towards the end. I do apologize about that. It's just the stream is coming to an end, so I would recommend people to kind of do your last little bits and bobs and then get ready for a screenshot, and then we will all share the progress we've made today on the Discord chat. And don't worry about it being a work in progress. I'm sure a lot of people are still working on theirs. It's just still kind of fun to show it anyways. Okay. We can add these for the door here. At this point, I'm just throwing cubes at it, duplicating to get something in there. And then maybe we can give it a little door handle. Okay. This whole thing, we can use a new modifier that we haven't used before. We can use one called solidify, and it's just gonna give it thickness. So you have options in here for how thick you want it to be. And maybe we can add a sort of a ground for everything to be on. Okay, there we go. I can go into my light settings here and adjust them. So how powerful they should be or not. We can duplicate these lights out to get a little bit more in there, make it a little bit more interesting for the screenshot here. Okay, if you want a little bit more of a realistic light kind of rendering, you can go up to the render tab in your properties and then change it from EV to cycles. It's going to be a little bit more intensive on your PC, but it will look nicer. If you want to disable all these overlays, you can click the show overlays button here and you can disable that. You can add a cylinder for this, maybe it would look better. I'm just gonna make like a flat little disc for everything to stand on top of. Bit hard to work with cycles enabled, so you can disable it whenever you go back to modeling. Right, there it goes. I'll give it a little second to render out. You can enable a denoiser here too. Oops. Oh, it's real laggy today. Oh, if you change the GPU, it should be faster. I don't know why it was on CPU. Okay, maybe this angle is cool. Okay, and then you can click Windows Shift S to get the cutting Windows like screenshot tool. You can just Windows Shift S, drag anywhere on your screen, and then go to the Discord chat, and then click Control V. and then you can post it there. It's alright. Here's what I did on today's bootcamp. Hope you all enjoyed and learned something. How to set the light. So if you want it to be the lit mode, you just gotta click up here, top right, boop, and then you should get something like this. And then you can just move your lights around. You can duplicate them. You can edit them out here on the right side, the light data. And then you can just take a screenshot. So I'll hang around a little bit and wait for people to post their stuff, and then I'll take a look at all of it. You know, it's fine if you're posting stuff that's in progress, it's more than okay. Maybe while I'm giving it a second, I'll just kind of show how I would make the bridge real quick. And I'll be going over it a little bit fast, but while I'm doing that, please, people, like, take a screenshot of what you have, put it in the Discord chat. It would make me very happy. But for the people that are curious, so first things first, we would need to give it more divisions because it doesn't have enough edges to support that curved shape. So we can do a simple subdivision. And now we can use a lattice to deform it into a curve. It's fine. So we can search for lattice, and just to show you all people, once you get a little bit more familiar with Blender, you can stack these modifiers and use multiple, and then you can actually do very cool stuff. So now if I go in and edit this lattice, you will see that I can literally just change the shape of my bridge as I want, which is very cool. We could do that if we wanted to. So to change the color of the light, you just click the light, you go to this little light bulb in the properties section, and there's the color and the strength and all that. To go to cycles, you click the render button up here, and you go from Eevee to cycles. And I would recommend changing it to GPU compute to make it go faster. If you don't have GPU compute, it's because you need to go into edit, preferences, system, and then enable your GPU here. Just click like optics, NVIDIA, or whatever GPU you have. Take it on. Yeah, so it's like a very fast way of making that bridge from what we already have. Very cool. And then let's say if you wanted to, you could even go back and you're like, hey, I forgot the floorboards. So you could go ahead, you could add. Just gonna do it in a fast way just to make the point. You can add floorboards here, so just know that, like today, we're not modeling we were not modeling in the most optimized way. It was just to get everybody introduced to the tools, and now you can actually go ahead and you can learn the tools more, like like you can learn more and more tools, and then you can start combining them for like crazy effect, right? That's what Blender is very good at. Like once you start learning all the tools there are, they just combine onto each other. So right now I have all these cubes here, and if you remember how we did it with the mirror modifier, if we select an object last that has all the modifiers and join them together, we can just add all those modifiers to our cube, so, or to our walkway. So just click Ctrl J, boop. Now we have floorboards on it as well, because it just copied all the modifiers. How to disable the grid? You go up here, show overlays, and you just click that, and then you'll have no stuff. And then Windows Shift S, and then you can just click and drag. You can also search for Klipværktøj in Danish. I think it's called snippet tool or something. Snip, and then it'll come up. You know, there's like you can do very cool stuff with this. You might notice the top of the balls are being a little bit distorted, but you could always add those back later, right? It's a very interesting way of working. Okay. You can do some weird stuff. If you wanted something more dynamic or something, you could definitely use this kind of workflow. Alright, I'll look in Discord. Oh, there's a lot of posts, no spoilers. Alright, so if you're still taking a screenshot, get it out there. I'll start going through the things. Not the pagoda scene, but I was modeling this weapon prop for my project. Well, that is completely fine. We just like it when people join and model stuff. Clarissa, you know that, so that's why you did it. And it looks amazing. Getting really good at this stuff. It's very awesome. I'm very proud. Getting better than me, girl. I gotta watch out. Oh, that's very nice. This looks completely clean, like it's flawless. Very good job. And I saw the reference for the people that are wondering, like the concept art, and it's like spot on, I think. Yeah, just flawless. It's very good. My Zara. Alright, cool. So, before I start judging everybody too hard, you know, the point of the stream was just to get people into Blender and introduced enough. And I think if you got to this point, you probably achieved that. So, I think you should give yourself a pat on the back. It's cool to see that you got both of the gazebo and the little gate here. So, yeah, I'll give you a big heart. Good job. A cool through the gate shot. Nice. Xeon FX doing the whole scene with the little tree as well. Working on some tiles there. It's cool. Almost make it look like a straw hut if you squint and look from far away. But it's very cool. I mean, you got further than I did. It's awesome. Very good job. Maybe you could use that trick I just showed with the lattice for this kind of bridge here. It would look cool. I'd love to see an updated version. So it's very awesome. So you get a big heart. Good job. Iquasaur could be better. I think everybody's scene could always be better. That's how it is. But I mean, you got both of them on there. and it was just about getting introduced, so I think you did a pretty good job. So I'll give you a big heart. Very nice. I couldn't get the bevels to work, but I had fun. On the roof there. I mean, hey, you did it your way, which is kind of good. Like, that means you were introduced enough to the software to kind of brute force your own way, and that's kind of cool in itself. So, I mean, good job on that, I guess. You know, makes me happy, so you get a big heart from me. Curve, 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 with a nice render. I like that backdrop. Yeah, you got all of it. Very good job. Beautiful. Good job, good job. Mass with a nice color under. A little soft render too. Yeah, nice. I like the little staircase here. It looks very nice actually. I'd say maybe something that could help a lot is if you select your model here, because it looks like what's happening here is your model is kind of doing this. So if you just select that and right click and then click shade auto smooth, it'll kind of help a little bit with all that stuff. So if I just, yeah. But other than that, I mean, fantastic job, Mess. Good job. Get a big heart from me. Illing. Ooh, with the purple light as well. I see. And then the walkway and the bridge. Wow. Okay, I see you. Good job. Big pat on the back for that one. For yourself, of course, not for me. Good job on that one. Very cool. Celine got the gazebo, got the gate. Same goes to you. If it's your introduction to Blender, it's a great job. If you're just getting into the software at all, it's a good job. You know, it's about just getting used to the tools. So you get a big heart from me too. Bop. Oh, I almost set it on fire. That was not on purpose. Kassar again with the better lighting. Cool, cool. Yeah, it needs to render a little bit more. Maybe if you switch to your GPU, and also remember there's a denoiser in here. So if you go cycles, you can enable denoise here. So without it, it's kind of grainy, but with denoise, it kind of helps a lot. Just give it a second. Okay. So get a heart for that updated picture. And by the way, if people do update them or do anything extra, I would love to see it. I always check this chat, so that would be awesome. Senna, first time in the stream. Awesome. That means you're probably pretty new to Blender as well. So same goes to you. Oh, a little triple gazebo roof. I see that. Put all the effort into the one, might as well duplicate it a couple times. Alright, that's cool. Get a big heart from me. You got everything in there. It's nice. Renan. Got a bit lost with the roof. I'll try to watch it again tomorrow. Alright, cool. I mean, again, you kind of got it brute forced, which means that you sort of know how to use the software now. That's pretty much all we wanted to do this stream. So good job on that. You get a big heart from me. I like the colors. I like the colors. So if people are curious how you add the colors, if you want to do that to your own thing, you go to this little material tab in the properties window, and then you can click new. Then you have a material and you can change the colors as you see fit. You can even make it metallic if you want or something. Boop. You got a red roof, and you just gotta do that to all of them. Now if you want, you can call it red roof, and let's say you wanted the red roof on all these pillars. Well, you can just click here, search for red roof, apply it. Don't have to make it every time. Alright. Lovis Apalem Quist. Nice. Same goes to you. You got all of it. If it's your introduction to Blender, great job. It's just about getting used to it. Get a bit heart from me and a pat on the back. Good job, people. Moeko. Had to start a bit late because of schedule, but I'll definitely finish it later. Have to fix some proportions that are not good as well. Hey, I mean, it's a good start, right? You're getting into it. So I think that's fine. I'd love to see an updated version of it as well. Get a big heart. Okay. Alright, lots of nice submissions today. I'm happy to see it. Whoop. And with that, that will pretty much be the end of me for tonight, people. Happy to see all the submissions. Yeah, hold up, let me get something out for y'all. So, open house at the school. If you are interested in 3D, if you're interested in meeting people that like 3D, I would recommend coming to the open house probably if you like that kind of stuff. If you want to know more about the school, I'll put a link in the chat. So boop, open house, look at it if you're interested. Other than that, I'm gonna call it for tonight, people. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all learned something. I'll be back again next week, same time, same place, and we're gonna be putting some color on our model and texture it and paint it and whatever we can figure out how to do, and maybe add a little bit of extra, who knows. So I'll see you all next time. Have a good rest of your evening, morning, midday, wherever you are in the world. I'll see you all. Thank you all for joining. Bye bye.